Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Okay, guys. So we're going to start by bringing all of our listeners up to speed here. So up until a year ago, Josh and I lived in New York City, but Josh and I grew up together actually in a small town between Seattle and Portland called Centralia, Washington. And just north of Centralia is a city called Tumwater. So just stick that under your hat for a minute. So it's January 2021, and the world has been in its altered state for I guess that's 9 months or so. And airlines are gradually starting to welcome back travelers, as well as some countries are trying to, reopen for some tourism. And Josh and I had a friend who had just visited Antigua with her daughter and knew that we were looking for sort of an escape from New York, a little break, and insisted that we check it out. So we go to Antigua. We're sipping a Caribbean rum punch cocktail on the beach, as one does, and we spot this adorable young couple who are so happy and bouncing around. They're playing in the waves. They're playing cornhole on the sand. When Josh notices this guy is wearing a pair of University of Washington shorts. We think this is a really small world, given we're in the middle of the Caribbean visiting from NYC, but from the Seattle area. And here's some kid wearing UW shorts. So Josh begins texting our friend who graduated from the University of Washington and follows football very closely. And we eventually connect the dots as to who this kid is. And we click in to read his stats. And we realize that he's a graduate of Tumwater High School, the city just north of where we grew up, but also the city where my little brother teaches and helps coach Tumwater football. So I naturally reach for my phone again and I text my brother, do you know these people? Do you know a Cade Otten? As I'm texting Cade's name and do a message with my brother. Jordan confirmed the wildest connection. Cade and Sierra were graduates of Tumwater High School, grew up together, and Cade was a promising NFL pick, and they were just married and on their honeymoon. So wild. So Josh and I knew we had to walk over and introduce ourselves. So because this timing is crazy, I just keep asking myself, tell me in what world do high school sweethearts from a small West Coast city get married during a small family wedding when a lot of weddings weren't even happening during this time, right? And you guys decided to go for it and also take your honeymoon to an island. This just gets more strange. And the same resort where your parents honeymooned something over 30 years earlier. And then at the same time, in what world do Josh and I, also high school sweethearts, married over 20 years earlier from the neighboring small West Coast town, escape to Antigua? And what could go wrong? Okay, so I'll never forget walking up to you two so randomly and the looks on your faces. To me, it was like, oh no, what is this woman going to say to us?
No.
Anyway, Cade and Sierra are new friends because of crazy timing. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having us. It's so good to talk to you again. We miss you. It's been a long time without you.
It was just crazy how it all worked. I knew we were destined to be friends forever.
Oh, completely.
Yes.
Okay, so before we get started, my first question, what is the most inspiring or encouraging thing you've ever heard or read, or maybe somebody's told you?
Yeah. For me, the first thing that comes to my mind is just the life and death of Jesus. That's something that's been really important to us in our lives and relationship, and just seeing his life as a model for how we're supposed to live as a servant, as someone who loves unconditionally, and someone who died for us to bring us into his family. And so just the humility and servanthood of him is something that is inspiring on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same. And to kind of go along with that, I was talking to Cade and how, the saying, don't cry over spilt milk. Literally, I remember sitting at my family dining table with my whole family, and when I was little, I would spill milk probably once a week. And I remember
She does spill a lot.
I still spill. Right before I came on here, I spilled my orange juice down. I was like, that's so on brand for me. So
it doesn't quite surprise me now.
It's
just kidding.
Yeah. So anyway, I would spill my milk and I would cry because I was so hard on myself. I've always been hard on myself. And my mom would just look me in the eyes and say, Sierra, nothing's that big of a deal. And honestly, that's something that has just carried over through, I think, every every facet of life, like not just, spilt milk or, small things, but bigger things. Like throughout life, I was hard on myself with grades and, um, sports and stuff like that. And like, no matter what happened, my mom would always say, like, nothing's that big of a deal. And not in a flippant way, like nothing matters and like, don't try and stuff, but more so in like, just live in the light of eternity. Like everything here fades to dust. And at the end of the day, like if we believe that Jesus came and died for us and is coming again, then nothing matters that much. And so that's even with the big things, like tragic things. It's like, if you have a death in the family, which, things like that have happened, it's like at the end of the day, like we don't stop living, we keep going because we push on towards, the goal that is heaven with Jesus. So I think that's the most inspiring thing, especially as like the world feels so like tumultuous and it can be just dark at times right now. And I think like ultimately having the mindset that, I can lose this and I can lose that, and after so much loss, like I can still, my mom is so sweet. Like she's been through so much and she can still look me in the face and say like nothing's that big of a deal. And so
Wow.
anyway, I think that's probably, it sounds so simple, but I think it's probably the most inspiring thing for me, and it ties in kind of with his. So anyway,
I love that.
thanks.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
You guys, I'm so glad you're here. And thank you,
Oh.
Sierra, for getting excited about the podcast. I remember texting you, I
yeah.
have this crazy idea.
Oh my god.
And just sort of thinking, who would be my first set of friends that, and I had only known you guys a little while, but I already knew that there's just, I just felt connected to you. And I knew, we were on that beach together for just a couple of days. And sorry, I know you were on your honeymoon. I was trying not to
oh my gosh, no.
impose ourselves.
No, we loved
but
it.
I just knew that we would be connected forever. So I was super excited
Thank you.
that you guys were supportive and excited.
Feeling
so
so
I have
mutual.
to know.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, completely.
Oh, that means a lot. So from your perspective, you're on your honeymoon and here come these two people. You have no idea who we are. And we're coming up to you. I don't remember exactly, but I think Josh was like, sorry to bother you, but do you know Jordan Stray or something like this? You must have had no idea where we were going. What were you thinking in this moment?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah, I think at first in those moments, it's kind of just like the serendipitous of the moment. You're like what?
How?
Like
what?
Just realizing where we are and like that
was the kicker.
Yeah, that we even might know a common person.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one thing when you're at like a grocery store or something, but like when you're on the other side of the country and
the world.
Yeah.
The world, literally. In a time where nobody was really even traveling, and we nailed it to the same week.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
and if you didn't have
crazy.
So nuts. But Cade, if you didn't have those shorts on that said universe, we wouldn't have not have even felt a connection to start stalking you on Google.
That's so funny.
Yeah, something told me to put those shorts on that morning.
Yeah.
I don't believe in coincidences. Yeah. So right out of the gate, I have to tell you both, congratulations. You've been married a little over 1 year now.
Thank you.
Yay.
Yes.
And you guys got married young. I did a little digging and I read you guys met as 12-year-olds in the 8th grade. This is amazing. Tell me the story.
You want to tell us?
Okay, yeah. So
I'll add in.
Yeah, we knew some mutual friends.
Totally.
Yeah.
She went to a middle school that was just like 15 minutes away or so. And she played basketball with a bunch of girls from my school.
Yeah, because I was transferring. So my middle school fed into a different high school than his, but my whole family, like my older brother and my older sisters, transferred to Tumwater High School where he goes to school, or he went to school. And so I was just also going to do that. That's just what my parents decided for us. So I had been playing sports with Tumwater girls outside of school. So to kind of like ease the transition into the high school, which was great. So anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so one of my friends and one of her friends wanted us to meet each other, and so we were both at this high school basketball game.
And we did not want to meet each other.
Yeah, we kind of resisted.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I guess in 8th grade, both of us were kind of at the point where we didn't want to talk to the opposite gender.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So we were there like sitting probably like 5 to 10 feet apart.
Yeah.
And they just kind of like brought our hands together and said like, this is Cade, this is Sierra. And we shook hands and it was really awkward.
Yeah.
Not awkward at all.
Yeah.
I was so mad at my friend too. I was like, I don't want anyone I have to avoid at my new school. And now I have to avoid him because that was so awkward. So I remember like resenting that, but I mean, not really. It all worked out. But anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah. And so that was like the first time we met. We saw each other over the next however many months until freshman year when she came to the high school. She just couldn't get her away from me, you know?
No.
Oh my God.
Why would she leave your side?
Yeah.
No. But anyway, we had a class together that freshman year, 6th period English, and just kind of talked every once in a while, and then homecoming came along and I didn't know who I was going to ask, and just kind of like
the drama.
Yeah.
Homecoming.
Yeah, so much drama there. Anyways.
I remember.
Yeah, just kind of like, not even kidding, like woke up in the middle of the night one night and I was like, I'm going to ask Sierra. This was like 2 weeks before homecoming. And then like the next day, my mom helped me like make a sign and get some flowers. And then I asked her the next day to homecoming.
With a sign and flowers?
Yeah. It was.
Shoot, Josh.
Yeah. That's like what you
We
did
didn't have
for
signs of flowers.
homecoming, I guess. These days it's crazy, but anyway, it was sweet. I said yes, I guess. So.
Oh, I love that.
Anyway. Yeah.
So that was freshman year English class, and the rest is history.
Yes.
Amazing. So listeners of the Good News Is podcast are still getting to know me too, of course, because this is a relatively new adventure. So for anyone out there listening, Josh and I actually grew up together, and I know you guys know this because I made you sit through the story on the beaches of Antigua on your honeymoon. But so Josh and I grew up together. I've known Josh since I was 10, and he became my boyfriend when I was 13.
Oh my God.
And I was actually 19 when we got married. So we celebrate 22 years this year, which is nuts to me.
That's awesome.
Thank you. But anyway, we had a pretty unconventional path, I guess you could say, between college choices and moving to LA and choosing to start our life together very early. And you two also got married young, but you had different balls to juggle than Josh and I did, like applying to colleges, potentially attending, different schools and preparing to be apart for a season. I'm just wondering, how did you guys navigate your relationship during that period of time and the possibility of having to go separate ways? And how did you nurture and grow your relationship through college?
Yeah, so that application process was definitely harder on her because I knew I was going to the University of Washington before before my senior year, and so my mind was already made up, which like kind of put all the pressure on her, which was like not very fair.
Yeah,
but
that was fun.
Not ideal.
So maybe you can speak to that.
Well, first of all, congrats to you and Josh. That's so cool. Honestly, like seeing you guys in Antigua, I feel like you had said, you've mentioned this before, but like I see, us and you and us. You guys were you guys had been married like 20 years, and we were 21 years maybe, I don't remember. And then we were both 21, 22 getting married. So it's just so fun, and I love that. And like you said, just from a close town, it's just crazy. So
I just love that we met during your first week as a married couple. Like, if hopefully that's some sort of a great bookend on the beginning.
Oh my gosh, completely. And we loved it. It's so funny. You guys joke about like intruding, and we were like, oh my gosh, I hope they're at like the, wherever we were.
Let's have dinner.
Tonight. Like we wanted to see you guys. Yeah, we hope they're at karaoke tonight.
And Josh is like holding me back. They're on their honeymoon, babe.
Oh my gosh, that would have been crazy.
Sorry.
I would no, it was great. But the whole college thing that was definitely a time. And how did I handle it? I would say not well. Like I honestly that was a struggle because I mean, I had like my boyfriend who was going to go play football somewhere, and you just hear outside voices that are like, oh, you don't want to follow your boyfriend, you don't want to do this and that. And like, honestly, I didn't want people to think that about me. And looking back, I wish that I didn't let that impact me as much. I wish that didn't get to me, but also at the same time, I'm glad I didn't go to UW because I think that, we grew a lot in those years apart. And so I actually ended up I applied to UW. I got in. I accepted to go there. I was gonna go to UW. And I remember we were sitting at like a soccer game, and I was with Cade, and some of his friends were there, and like somehow we got to talking about how I was going to UW too, and they were like, "Oh, you're just following Cade," and I was like, "Okay, I'm not going to UW." And I remember like that moment, I was like,
Oh,
I'm not going. And so I know that sounds crazy now, but I was like, I can't. Like I just cared so much what other people thought. Um,
oh man.
but anyway, I applied to a bunch of schools though, so I had other options. But then I
That's
ended up
great.
going to none of the schools I applied to, and I decided to like start sending some like game film out from basketball. So I sent a little bit of game film out. We had like a family friend help us compile some video footage, and had a couple coaches reach out, and ended up going to a school in Idaho for a year and playing basketball. Um, so I did none of the things that I thought I was going to do, and it ended up being for the best for sure, but I definitely like let other people influence my decisions. And like I said, I hope I wouldn't do that again in hindsight, but also
Yeah,
God bless the broken road because it worked out perfectly the way it was supposed to. So,
totally.
but yeah, I would say nurturing though the relationship long distance initially was really hard, especially we were both playing sports. And I can let you kind of take over that question.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just long days for both of us. So,
Right.
I mean, it was such a challenge being in a new place and trying to like excel in your sport and do school and make new friends, but also like commit to each other. So
Yeah.
it was definitely like not perfect and a little bumpy, but
Yeah.
we just like really decided like we wanted to be together, and
Yeah.
that was like really the difference maker. We would just make time whenever we could and hash things out whenever we needed to. And it like I said, it wasn't easy. I wouldn't want to do it again, but it really like
Totally.
Yeah.
refined our relationship.
I love how you said it refined your relationship. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was good, and the hour time difference was great.
Yeah.
Time difference kills.
I know. Every hour is a
It
huge
is.
on top of everything else that you guys are juggling. And then at the end of the day is the only time you have
Exactly.
to reconnect by phone because it's not in the same town.
Yeah.
And then you have an hour difference. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
totally. So that was hard. But we did do, like, I think honestly, I think this word is sometimes overused in our culture, but really honestly being like intentional with our time and like planning things, whether it was like a FaceTime date or, Cade was so gracious with his time always. I mean, like staying up late or
Oh,
getting up early and coming to visit me even during the season because he redshirted his freshman year. Um, so yeah, I think that helped. Also, like one thing we did a lot was like we wrote letters to each other because we
oh,
found
that's
that like
amazing.
writing letters is like again really intentional. I would like have notes on my phones of things or on my phone that I wanted to like tell him in the letter. So it was like things that I felt like I wanted to bring him along on the day that you
Oh,
know
I love that.
we're FaceTiming at the end of the day. You just don't think about it. It's more like, hey, how are you?
Like
But
the here and now.
yeah,
But by making notes along the day, like you're genuinely trying to bring him into your life
yeah,
and vice versa. And I don't care if the word intentional is overused at
yeah,
all because I think we need to be reminded of that like
totally,
on a daily basis.
totally.
With our relationships, with how I'm going to spend my personal
Uh-huh.
time. Um, you know, what do they say? The days drag on, but the years fly by.
Yeah,
And without an intention behind these specific moments,
yeah.
maybe they don't turn out the way you'd hope.
Exactly. So anyway, that's probably how we nurtured that a bit. And then just choosing. So yeah,
Choosing. I love that too.
thank you.
Well, I feel so lucky to have a pretty wide age range of listeners actually on the Good News Is podcast. And many are in the college age range,
Mm-hmm.
actually. I think Max is helping me with that
Oh,
down at Baylor.
awesome.
But what would be your advice to young people who hope to find their life partner early, like maybe while they're in college? Because I feel like maybe it's more popular to find your partner later on in life,
Mm-hmm.
but I do know there are many young adults who want to find their person early and begin their journey together.
Yeah.
So, what would you guys say to them? I mean, probably something hopeful, or
Yeah.
I feel like you would have that hopeful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to
Um,
go?
yeah. I think so. A hugely important thing is having a common foundation of belief,
Mm-hmm.
because like anytime we have any arguments or disagreements or whatever, we know we can come back to that same foundation of what we believe in. For us, it's the Bible, um, and know that we have common ground there and we can agree there. Um, and I just think it would be so hard to make any relationship work where like your foundation isn't the same. And
Mm-hmm.
so I guess just in the dating process, like really try to figure that out. Like what is their foundation? What do they put their life on? Um,
Yeah.
and if you find the same thing there, then I think you can progress from there like fairly fast, like you
Yeah.
and you and your husband did,
Yeah.
and like we
Mm-hmm.
did.
Yeah. And I think too, it's like it's pretty countercultural um, to commit early and to, you know, get married young. I think a lot of what the culture is telling us right now is, you know, wait, you do you, figure out yourself, all this stuff. And I think it's with the intention of like, you know, pursuing happiness. But like, what is happiness? Is happiness, you know, investing completely in yourself and not looking outward, or is it like giving your life to someone else fully and them doing it in return? I mean, like marriage is very sanctifying, and like you have to be selfless, you have to think outside yourself, you have to think about someone else's needs before your own, and turns out like that's more fulfilling than, you know, pursuing, you know, yourself over and over. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that like my advice to younger people would be, don't don't worry about what other people think about if you're getting married too young, or you're doing this or you're doing that. Like just be okay with committing early. There's nothing wrong with commitment. And
Mm-hmm.
also I would say, again, with the similar foundation thing, I mean, doing long distance too, I think a lot of people do that because most young kids are going to college. So if they have, you know, a young um, relationship in high school or whatnot, they're like, oh, well, I guess you have to break up. And honestly, maybe sometimes you should, but if you find
Right.
that relationship in college, a lot of times you're not from the same hometown. So a lot of people find themselves doing long distance, and that's another thing. Like the common denominator for us was always like the Bible and the Word. And so um, when the world changes around us, we still have like this objective truth to come back to. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, you can make it work if you both believe in the same thing. I think the world's also obsessed with like you have to be the same, you have to be into the same things, you have to do the same this, you have to do the same that.
Totally.
And
I was just going to say, like, if the foundation is the same, you know, it's like remodeling and tearing down a house 17 times.
mm-hmm,
Like, as people, we're going to continue evolving and
exactly.
growing and changing. Like, I hope I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, that's really lame.
Mm-hmm.
But if the foundation is the same, you know, really how much of anything else needs to perfectly align? And
Exactly.
we could be, you know, barking up the wrong tree, waiting for all of these boxes to tick when they're going to be crumpled up and changed
Mm-hmm.
anyway. You know, and so to have the one truth, and like you said, for you guys it's one thing, for another couple it could be, as long as there's one baseline that everybody can come back to,
Yeah.
the rest is kind of up for
Yeah.
grabs and it's gonna blow with the wind, you
Yeah.
know.
Totally. And that's, I think that summarizes exactly like what I'm saying. And I think that young people should probably, I mean, I'm speaking myself too because I'm still a young person, but I
Sure.
mean, like Cade and I are going to change, but we have the same, you know, the same beliefs when we wake up in the morning. Objective truth is objective truth, and you know, we'll stand on that no matter how we change. So anyway,
Mm-hmm.
that would be my advice. And surround yourself with people who also think like you and want to get married young. That will help you find your partner young. So
Totally. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. A support group is always
yeah.
key. I don't know about you guys, but I think you started to touch on this a little bit. But we've heard a lot when we were young. We heard a lot about the, you know, but you have the rest of your life, you
Hmm.
know, to find someone and be married, you know, because we were 19 and
Right.
21. But we didn't actually think twice of it.
Hmm.
Like we were so excited to have the rest of
Yeah.
our lives together, that we figured, let's go, let's get this
Yes.
party started, you know?
Totally.
But like the When Harry Met Sally, you know, movie, the specific line also comes to mind, for those out there who have found their person, but then they feel the pressure or the need to wait for a certain age to commit,
Hmm.
or to get married, to commit to being a life partner or get married. And the line is, when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as
Hmm.
possible. And I love that. Like that's Josh and me for
Right.
sure. So and you did hear a little bit of that, probably, like, you have the rest of your
Yeah.
life. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean,
Totally.
you just kind of want to keep going
Yeah.
because it's fun and you love this person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
The only thing we like wish was different about our marriage was that we did it sooner.
Yeah.
Because it really is the best thing.
Yeah.
And,
I was going to say that.
yeah.
Seriously.
I love that. How old were you when you guys got married?
21.
21, yeah.
The ripe age of 21.
Yeah. Yes. And it's like for both of us, and you know, you and Josh too, it's like we'd been together a long time, you know, and we didn't have any questions. We were like, well, we want to be together, so everything that we want to pursue in life, whether it's career goals or a family, like we want to do it together anyway, so you know, we might as well start forever as early as we can. So
I love it.
And we were actually really fortunate to have a lot of other young couples from our high school who are just awesome, and we're still friends with them, and they got married too, and so we have like young couple friends, and like that's been a huge, you know, blessing and just encouragement in our life and in our marriage. And so I don't know, I think that it's fun to see other people loving life too with their spouses, and I think you hear a lot of times like you're gonna get sick of them and like all this stuff. I'm like, I hope we're honestly in the honeymoon phase forever, because you know, why not? You know, we love each other.
Why not?
You know,
totally.
why would we have to get sick of each other? So anyway, yeah.
That reminds me, when we were getting married, like right before we got married, a friend of mine, her mother also got married very young, and she was telling me that she was speaking to some people before they got married, and somebody asked her, you know, well, have you thought about what you're going to do? Like, what if this doesn't work out?
Oh my God.
And she was like, crap, like that didn't even cross my mind. Like, and the person was like, okay, like I just wondered, like that's exact. And she's telling me this, and I'm thinking, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't it work out?
Yeah.
But I think that that's an important, you know, acknowledgement to, and an honest statement. Like, it never even occurred to me that this wouldn't work. You know, I mean, my parents have been married for a bazillion years, and you know, I've always admired them, and you know, it's not always a walk in the park, but nothing is.
Right.
So I felt so happy that other people were shocked by that. So I feel like you guys would probably have had the same reaction.
Oh my God.
I didn't even consider if it doesn't work.
No, it's like not even an option. Like we don't even, you know, like that's not even in the deck of cards, you know, it feels like. So
we made,
because there's a million ways to make something. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, we made a vow before God to be together through thick and thin, like for bad and for worse.
For bad and for worse.
I can't remember.
Bad and worse, also.
Something like that.
Truthfully,
He's
something
really
like that. You weren't really paying attention.
No, but yeah, that's so funny. It's true.
So we kind of touched on that just a second ago, like relationship heroes, right? Like, so who most impacted you guys as children, and were there any specific relationship heroes that you aspired to or you witnessed growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think that it's kind of a culmination of a lot of relationships. Like my family, I feel like we have a long lineage of early marriages, and I mean, they all worked out really well. And my great grandma, she got married to my great grandpa. I think they were in their like mid-teens. It was a long time ago, you know, so probably like 16, 17-ish, you know, mid to upper. I hope I'm not making that up, but but it was, you know, she was born in 1911. She lived till she was 107 and had 12 kids. I mean, they had just a lot of love in that family, and I have a lot of cousins because of it. I'm like related to everyone. I'm like, Cade, we're not related, right? No, I'm just kidding.
You guys took the blood test.
Yeah, we're good. Kidding. We're safe. But then my grandma, so my great grandma's daughter and my grandpa, they got married when they met in high school too, and then they were married early, and I don't know, I think just, and then my siblings, like both of my sisters got married really early, and then Cade and I just see the joy of family and the joy of, you know, selflessness in marriage. I mean, marriage is holy and it's from God, and like, you know, I'm with this guy forever, and then we're like, wait, we should get married. That's just like the logical next step. So I think just like I said, like that lineage of early marriages, and high success rate and a lot of
Yeah.
joy in family was inspiring to me. And specifically, like my grandparents, my mom's parents, they were married pretty early, like I said, and then had a farm here where my mom grew up, and then I ended up growing up here too. And so they're kind of just, I don't know. I think they're like kind of legendary to our family because like my cousins and my aunts and uncles and whatnot, we all live on the same property and like we all have houses on the same property. And I just think of how my grandparents in their marriage was kind of just like the bedrock for our whole family. And I mean, my childhood has been on this property and I've seen the way like they love and work hard. I mean, my grandpa basically was a homesteader on this property. You know, they went to the store for flour and sugar, but they had their own, their own eggs, and they made their own, bread and butter.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, and they had their own milk cows, and they baled their own hay. They had their own garden, and like just seeing the hard work and love through family and marriage is just so inspiring to me, and just wanted that for myself, and for Cade. So anyway, that was a long-winded answer.
I love that. I love that so much.
Thanks.
Oh, well, I mentioned in my intro how you guys have committed to each other early and are also so supportive of your respective career aspirations. And I'd love our listeners to hear how exciting this all is. And I keep hanging on to your bit about how it turns out nothing's that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. But I'm still over here thinking, okay, Cade and football, this is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
So a lot of what you've got cooking right now seems like it might be a big deal. So when did we know that football was going to be more than just a high school sport for you, Cade? And as I mentioned, my brother was one of your coaches in high school, but that was clearly just the beginning for you. So how do we get from Tumwater High School to University of Washington Huskies to the NFL Combine a few weeks ago? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. It's a surreal and fun time. Just starting out, my grandpa was the head coach at my high school where Coach Stray, your brother, coached.
Coach Stray.
Yeah, Coach Stray. For 43 years.
Wow.
So yeah, I grew up going to games. I started out as the water boy in kindergarten and graduated to the ball boy. And then finally got into the program. And so I just always loved playing football. And I always had like dreams of playing in college and the NFL and stuff. But I never really like thought it would for sure happen until I got my first offer to play after my junior year. And so that was so cool and surreal. And so just kind of went through that process and went to UW because I really liked what they were doing with the program, and it was close to home, and just continued to love playing and working hard, and by God's grace, been given this opportunity to keep playing and provide for my family through it. And so right now just went to the combine a few weeks ago, and now we're waiting for the draft at the end of April to see where we'll be shipped off to.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so exciting.
Yeah, it is so exciting. And I'm so thankful for Sierra's support. It's not like an easy space to be a wife in the football world. And she's just been so supportive and great through it. And we're just getting started. But
yeah. I know. We're all sitting here waiting so impatiently. Yeah. Like I'm so pumped. It's so exciting. Thanks. And Sierra, I know you're a poli-sci major. What are your career aspirations? And then this is kind of a double whammy. And then Cade, I read that you were admitted directly into the University of Washington's Foster School of Business right out of high school. So what are your plans?
You want to start?
Sure. Yeah. I've always been interested in politics. It's just been a hot topic at my house since I was little. I remember like watching I think it was like the John Kerry, George Bush election when I was super little, and like my parents let me stay up late past all the other kids. And I just remember seeing states turn like red and blue, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And eventually I had to go to sleep, and I woke up and, the results were in. But I've always been interested in politics since then. And I think just like truth and justice, that's what I care about a lot. And so anyways, I don't necessarily, I think at one point I was more like career driven and whatnot, and now I feel like I'm more family oriented and stuff, but I definitely still, I don't want to be a politician necessarily, or like probably not even like a lobbyist or anything like that, but I would love to be in some sort of nonprofit organization, or something like an interest group, something along those lines. And I think it will maybe look a little different with Cade's career and stuff, because we won't necessarily be in one place for the rest of our lives. We might be bouncing around a little bit, but I would love to be involved volunteering at like something that's important to me, as like a crisis pregnancy center or something like that. There's some in Olympia. I would love to get involved in those, but I mean, we won't be here long. So wherever we settle down next, that's something that is near and dear to my heart. So I'd love to do that. And then aside from that, I mean, I would love to be, a mother one day. And also Cade and I really want to like have farm animals and, do stuff like that.
Awesome.
So, yeah, he promised I could get a milk cow one day. So I'm like,
oh my gosh, I love this. Following in your grandparents'
I
footsteps.
know, love it. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at right now. We'll see. We're kind of just rolling with the punches right now. But okay, do you want
Work in progress?
But yeah.
Yeah. So, just coming out of high school, I got super lucky getting into the business school there. So just kind of did that throughout my time there, and graduated a few months ago. And
congrats.
Yeah. And so just gonna do football as long as I can, and after that, not completely sure like what type of business I would want to get into, but I definitely like knowing that our dream is to kind of live on a farm and have some animals. I know like some of the business principles can be applied there to like providing for us through that. And so yeah.
I'm excited. I love this.
Thanks.
When we were brainstorming for this episode together, you were sharing a little bit with me about your feelings regarding your definition of good news. And you said something that I copied and saved. I'm going to read your quote for everyone. Sierra said, I think the fact that nothing is that big of a deal has given Cade and me the freedom to be young and in love and have dreams and fail. It's given us the freedom to fail and face hard things, knowing that in the light of eternity, everything here is so small. And I just love how you said that, because I feel like you really placed the responsibility of finding and keeping good news in my control, even when the results of taking brave steps towards risks and dreams are not in my control, right? Like we know that trying just doesn't guarantee success. Like sticking my head out there doesn't mean that I'll nail it or that I'll win, but I'm here and I have choices. And I always tell my kids, like, you have the choice to rise and shine every day. Like you have the choice to take steps, and you have the choice to be brave. We also have the choice to do nothing and experience nothing. But either way, these are just moments, like, little twinkles in time in a life that is so short. So I can do my best and I can go for it, possibly fall flat on my face, or I can do nothing and sit there idly. But the good news is we have that freedom. And I love how you touched on that. You have the freedom to dream. You have the freedom to fail, as you said. And then we also have the freedom to try again. And this should feel liberating to us, as flawed and imperfect people. I don't know if you want to talk any more about that, but it gave me just this reminder of that is so good.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, honestly, like I said earlier, I mean, like the whole nothing's that big of a deal. It's not flippant. It's not nothing matters. It's you have freedom to fail, and it's okay to fail, and it's okay to take risks. It's okay to get married young and people to not like that. It's okay to, believe what you believe and stand on that, and people not like that either. Especially in our culture, I think there's a lot of things you can't do and you can't say, and it's okay that people don't like you. It's, so I think, and again, bringing it back to my mom, like even throughout high school, if I've messed up, if I've made a mistake, if I've done something, that was wrong, I could tell her. I had freedom to tell her, because nothing's that big of a deal, and like we'll walk through it together. And so I think that's something that, I'm still working on, it's like it's not like I've reached the end goal where I'm like, yeah, nothing's that big of a deal. Nothing can get to me. But I think it's something that I can have in my back pocket and know that, it's okay, because at the end of the day, like the Bible says, to fix your eyes on things that are unseen, because what's seen is temporary and what's unseen is eternal. And so if we have our eyes on this prize that is heaven again and in Jesus, then like nothing here can really phase us. Nothing can pull us down to where we can't get back up. So anyway, but yeah, I think like you said too, like I think that's given us freedom to, like Cade in sports, like it gives him freedom to,
Yeah.
it's okay if you don't, if something crazy were to happen and you got hurt and you could never play, it's okay, because that's not where your, identity, eternity, and all of that lies. And so anyway, yeah, but yeah, that's a little bit of expounding. Anything you have?
Yeah, I like how you mentioned like the freedom to fail, and you mentioned like you have a choice to like try and brighten up your day or just do nothing, and when you're looking at it in the eternal picture, it's almost like scarier not to try, like not to do your best and
I'm so glad
in
you
the
said that.
presence of God, and like when you get to him and look at him and say like I didn't try,
Yeah, I
and
was too scared to fail, so
I
I
was
didn't try.
exactly, and so like with that we can go out and try our best and fail and like stand before God on when that day comes and be like I tried and you saw that, and we're not perfect, but we have that motivation no matter what.
Yes.
It's scary when you realize that I haven't released it yet, but I recorded an episode, just kind of a monologue myself, talking about how this podcast didn't actually almost happen. And, fear is a paralyzing
Yeah.
thing. And, we're pretty outgoing. Like, Josh and I love to have
Yeah.
fun. Like we don't really say no to a lot. Like we're ready to bop around and do whatever. But I guess it kind of comes back to you were saying, Sierra, too, about it's okay if, people think I'm ridiculous, or it's okay if I don't do a great job at
Yeah.
this, but at least I've tried, and it's really scary when you wake up one day and you're, 41 years old and you start counting all the things that you walked away from because they scared
Yeah.
you, or maybe things that you just barely tried, but it was scary enough, but you liked it, but you still walked away. And then one day, before you know it, those things have
Right.
mounted. And there's a lot of things standing on this side. And I always say, we can't have all these what ifs flying
Yeah.
around. Like, enough with the what ifs. And I'm speaking to
Yeah.
myself for sure. But how much better to just try? Like, it can be so painful and hard to just try. But the second you've done it, it's way more empowering and
Yeah.
liberating to stand there saying, well, I am at least one step further than I just was. And this might work out and it might not, but at least I've tried, and I have to make that choice every day. You have to be conscious of it,
Right.
because those calendar pages get
Right.
torn away before you know it. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
shoot, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or anyway.
Well, that's inspiring for us too, to hear as like younger people. I mean, because we still have, 20 years before we're where you are, and like just hearing that in hindsight too, it's like we haven't perfected this whole like, just do it thing. So it's like, it's encouraging to hear that, and it's cool to see you, I mean, living that, sitting here doing what you want to do, and also being great at it too. We love
Yeah.
listening to you. So
Thanks, guys.
but yeah, no, thank you for that.
Thank you.
That's a good.
I just feel like it's and it's also, like you said, it's kind of a fake it till you make it thing too, a little bit. Like, I can very easily be your best cheerleader and I will like scoot you along. But then when it comes time to me, or personally, right, it's not always as
Right.
easy. So I just feel like, at the very least, by encouraging one another to take that leap and to not be scared and to go
Yeah.
for it, sometimes we start believing it a little bit
Right.
Yeah.
ourselves too.
Totally.
So,
That's good.
well, you're both such positive people. And I know positive people can sometimes be labeled negatively, which isn't fair, because I think positivity can be just as much a mindset as it can be a character trait, even when we aren't feeling positive, right? And this could be in the wheelhouse of a bad day or a bad mood, or something on a larger, more serious scale, like mental health or identity struggles. So I just was wondering if, do you guys find it important to continually search for positive notes, even when you don't want it? Like it's so hard, you're just not feeling it. And if yes, how come?
Yeah, I do. I really do think that's important to keep a positive mindset in all circumstances, and I really do think that uh, just the story of Jesus allows that to be possible, and like the eternal um, picture, like just seeing a bigger picture allows that to be possible when everything's going wrong, when everything's going right, even because all things can be taken away from you. But when you have this bigger picture of like, this is not my home, this is not as good as it gets here on earth, even when things are going as well as they possibly could, this is not as good as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that is a outlook that can keep you positive 100% of the time if you're striving to do so. Obviously, you can't be perfect, but it's available to us, and I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything to add to that. It's pretty on the money. I mean, yeah, just staying in the Word
Yeah.
is encouraging, and being around people who are positive, which is hard in a negative world to do that. But honestly, all goes back to the theme of this. I mean, I think the whole theme of this for us is like living in the light of eternity and like having each other to lift each other up. So yeah, I would say that's really important because the negativity comes from every angle right now. So I mean, we have our phones, we have instant negativity, we have the news, we have, you know, comparison and just heightened anxiety on every front right now. And so I think staying positive is paramount if you want to, I mean, survive, but also thrive. So anyway.
Yeah, no, that's perfect to survive
Yes.
and to thrive. I love that. So, as you guys are starting out in your marriage and you have so much potential on the horizon, obviously, like both of your outlooks, both of what you have big things cooking. How do you guys stay grounded?
Yeah, I think it's great with the just the support we have. We we know a lot of humble people, and like when you're around humility, you like it makes you want to be grounded even more. And so that's one thing. And also, like she mentioned, staying in the Word, just striving every day to walk and be more like Jesus, who, I mean, he was God and lowered himself to a servant. And so those are just a few great examples of like how we want to keep ourselves grounded, and not that we have much to boast about, but
Yeah.
we definitely, it's rewarding to be humble.
Yeah. We have nothing that he didn't give us, and he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. So, I mean, everything we have is this, you know, we're stewarding. We don't have much, but I mean, Cade has like, whether it's talent or, you know,
You have talent
attention
too.
or thanks, Cade, or whatever. It's like, I mean, it's none of it's ours ultimately. So, I think that grounds you, and you know that you're holding on to it for someone else. You know, you're trying to take care of it for someone else, and so that keeps you grounded. And like Kate said, just people, you know, our families are awesome. He has a great family, and I'm really thankful to have a great family. And so, yeah, and I think that's probably what keeps us grounded, and each other too. You know, we always have each
That's
other.
important.
So
That's key.
anyway, yeah.
What is next for Team Otten?
Yes.
And you can answer that however you want.
Yeah. So this month will kind of be weird. We're kind of living place to place right now, just waiting for
out of a suitcase.
Yeah, out of a suitcase, just waiting for the draft to happen. Once that happens, we'll find out what one of 32 cities we'll be going to live in. And
I mean, one of
yeah,
32. How crazy could it be?
Yeah. So it's a little like, it's hard to plan with that.
It's hard to picture. I like to like visualize. I'm like, okay, we're gonna be here, but you can't really do that. So
yeah, but just kind of getting ready for that day, and we're super excited for this next adventure.
Yep.
When is the day?
It'll be So the draft is on April 28th to the 30th.
Yeah, it's over 3 days, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Tuck and roll, gang.
Yes.
Okay, so my next part, this is one of my favorite parts. I've got 10 questions. You don't know what they are. Well, unless you've listened to previous episodes, but they're not in front of you.
Yeah,
so
I
you didn't plan for them. So you can both answer. These are like short, sweet, one word. You can both answer though if you want. Okay. Question 1. What smell do you love?
Pine.
Oh gosh. Okay, this is weird. But a horse's muzzle, if you've ever smelled a horse's muzzle, they smell like a horse. And horses smell good.
What smell do you hate?
I don't like the smell of gasoline.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't like the smell of, this should be rapid fire and I'm bad. I don't like the smell of sauerkraut on my dad's birthday every year.
Your poor father. So specific.
Love you, Dad.
What's your favorite feature of yourself?
I think my smile, maybe.
You have a great smile.
Thanks.
I like my height. I like being 6'5".
That's good.
What's your least favorite feature?
Oh man, like physical or because?
That's you, girl. Answer however you want.
I think I'm a little too sassy sometimes.
and I can be a little too reserved. So yeah.
Where would you like to live?
Ooh. Somewhere close to mountains on some land.
With trees and also, yeah, you said mountains. Yep. I'm same as him. We want to live together.
Oh, good. Yeah. So you're living together. What you appreciate most in your friends?
Humility, selflessness.
Yeah, I was gonna say loyalty, and I think that encapsulates a lot of different things.
What is your main fault?
Oh man.
I think it's similar to everyone, just being self-centered sometimes. Like it's easy to turn your thinking towards yourself, and so I get caught up doing that sometimes.
He says that, but I don't see that much, but that's nice of you to self-reflect. You're so nice. I was gonna say sassy because that's for that, but I would say I think I'm a little stubborn as well. It's a fault. So I'm not gonna do what I don't want to do, but I need to work on that.
What shape is the sky?
What shape is the sky?
Flat. Just kidding. That's not a shape. Flat Earth. Just kidding. It's a,
I think as
circle.
As a shape, I think of it as a circle.
What is your biggest fear?
Honestly, for me, probably failure, which I need to take my own advice. You know, nothing's that big of a deal, but failure, especially in front of people, I'm like, no, I can't.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. It's hard to fail in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
What word keeps you going?
Hope. I think there's a lot of darkness, and so I think hope. You can get up in the morning and hope for something good.
I'll say grace.
Yeah,
that's a good one. You're forgiven for what you've done.
Sierra and Cade, thank you guys so much for joining me on the podcast today. It was really nice.
Of course, we love you, and we're so glad that you invited us on. We're so honored too. I'm like, what can you possibly glean from us? Like, are you kidding me? Thank you.
People ask me that, but everybody has so much to share. It's like, I mean, I just love hearing people talk. You know, it's just like a different perspective. It's just, you know, getting a peek into people's hearts and brains. And
you're awesome. You see the good in everyone. So that's awesome.
I try.
Of course.
Thank you.
Well, we hope that our listeners enjoyed today's episode of the Good News Is podcast. If you'd like to follow along on Sierra and Cade's journey and what happens next with football and the NFL draft and his beautiful wife, of course, you can give Cade Otten a follow on Instagram. It's at Cade Otten. If you don't follow me, you can look me up on the Good News Is podcast on Instagram or Free Range Mama on Instagram. If you'd like to get in touch, be sure to visit the show's website at lindsaystewart.com. Thank you again for clicking in to the Good News Is podcast, and I want you to make today a good one. See you soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.